Let's get past all of that stuff. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the studio this evening. And tonight I'm painting that. Where is it? There it is. Ooh, this nice, big, beautiful cow. Look at those Longhorns sticking way out there. I'm excited to paint this. This was given to me, sent to me by longtime viewer Natalie, and I'm totally excited to do this painting. I told her a long time ago I would do this and then kind of set it off to the side, and now it's time. I can't tell you. I'm excited. So Natalie, thank you very much. Dana's here, Stadika is here, everyone's rolling in. Thank you for joining me on this beautiful Wednesday evening. So a couple of things before we get started. The paper that I'm using is my bow hung watercolor paper. I just hit my just hit my microphone. This is the student grade watercolor paper. Wasn't necessarily a conscious choice. I had a couple of stacks of these pieces of paper that I rolled out. Of course, I bought it in a roll. It had some rolled out, and it seemed to be about the right size that I wanted to paint, and so I picked it for that. We can talk about paper as we go on if you'd like. The majority of what I'm going to do tonight I'll be doing with my, where is it at? My King Art paint brushes. So that's there. And then off on the side, on my right-hand side over here, are my M-Gram watercolor paints. They're over here. I love my M-Gram watercolor paints, and I am always happy to talk paints with everybody. If you see me reaching up here, you see a big shadow from my arm. I do have my water up there, and I've got some sponges that I dab my brush on. And with that, I am gonna jump right in, and I'm gonna do something a little different that I don't normally do. I'm going to start with the background. How about that, right? It's something I don't normally do. I'm going to grab some of this cobalt paint. I'm going to mix it in just with whatever blue we currently already have, just to get a nice bit of color on here. And then I'm not going to worry so much about getting the blue on at the moment, but I want to wet my page. Everything except for maybe this big old guy here. We'll paint right on around him. And we'll see how this goes. And I can dab in up here some of that blue. So as I'm going, this will make a bit of a sky. Let's see. Natalie says something here. Shoo, right on around here. I actually like that I have a little bit of blue tint in this water or on my brush so that you all can see what I'm doing. I think it's a little a little nicer than not having any color on here, and you're kind of wondering what I'm doing. And I'm just going to pull that down around. I think the husband saw this steer again on his bike ride a couple of weeks ago. Fantastic. I hope he steered well away from him. Boom, boom, boom. Well, he stayed way away. I know bulls can be a little cantankerous from time to time. I actually went back to the Midwest a couple of years ago to see some family and visit some friends, and I was in western Michigan and went to see, and I'm going to put this in quotes because I can't verify it, but went to see the most modern farm, dairy farm in America. That's how they build it. And I don't want to say that it wasn't, because it was pretty amazing. But we walked into the barn, and there happened to be a bull kind of in a pen all by himself, just kind of hanging out, you know, no big deal. And the farmer was there, and he said, I don't care if you come up and pet all of the other animals, you know, say hi, get friendly with all of the cows and whatnot. He said, the one thing you probably don't want to do is get too close to this bull. There's a reason he's in this pen all by himself. And I kind of went, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, right. Bulls are big and heavy and mean animals. Sometimes I'll give them a little berth, and I kind of wanted to go over and, you know, say hi to them and whatnot. So I kind of walked over there, and I got within about 3 feet of that corral, or the fencing around that corral, and he came moving over towards me in what I would say was not necessarily a friendly fashion. I backed up a little bit, and I went, yeah, you know what, I think you're right. We'll just kind of leave this guy be. I think he's pretty good on his own. And then, you know, kind of went back to doing whatever it is that you do when you're touring a farm. But it was, I have to say, it was a pretty cool place. Pretty interesting. So I'm just down here. I'm throwing in a mix of browns and greens. They're fairly light. I hope you all can see it. I just want something in the background, something to give a little definition to what we're doing here. And then, you know, some nice sky behind him. And we'll fill in some of that with bushes and trees and sticks and whatnot. But there you go. There's my first layer on here. They free range in the desert. These big cows, they're often standing across the bike trails. The free range girl cows have horns like this too. So, I guess you don't get a break. If you're biking, or if you're out walking through the desert on a trail somewhere and you see one, you don't. I guess you just better kind of get out of their way regardless, or let them do their thing and wait for them to pass you on by before you do anything. Okay, so here's my plan. All right, I've got my background on here. I'm going to wait for this to dry just a little bit, so we've got a moment or two to talk. Here's my plan. So you can see, I'll bring this up again so you can see. This guy's beautiful, actually. Let me bring him up here. So you can, whoops, did I not? Where am I going? Here we are. There we go. You can see on his flank, he's got this beautiful brown, like a burnt umber color. Maybe there's a little bit of some darker patches in there. And this beautiful white kind of mottled area on his back and on his stomach, right? So what I want to do is paint the entire undertone first. So that means underneath, under his belly, under there, kind of under his legs, between his chest and his legs. Paint all of those areas that are going to have a little bit of shading on it, right? a little bit of undertone, and then we'll come back and we'll do everything on top of that, add all of the color a little bit later. You get back to the broadcast here. Not that this is better, you're kind of watching paint dry here. I guess that's kind of the whole channel, watching paint dry. You know, I'm going to use a little bit of neutral tint, right up under his legs here, kind of on the back to define some muscle. I'm not going to use it. I'm going to use it up here where you can see where his hip bones are. He's got a couple of areas here around his eye and under his horn that are a little bit darker. So I just want to set the tone with those areas by doing those kind of first. And I'm hoping, let's just see. I'm hoping that this is just dark enough to do. I'm gonna get a little bit of my neutral tint going here, and I can see there's a little bit too much water there, but I'm going to, and I don't know where Liza's at. Liza asked me last week if I do a pre-painting or if I do a test painting or some such thing as that. And it's always about this time that I'm going, ooh, I kind of wish I had done that. I think it'll be fine. I think it'll be fine with this. But I do want to make sure I get this color on so we know what we're looking at here. That might have been a little dark, and I know there's a little bit of like some red or some lighter brown up here. We'll just add that in. Can you guys, this looks really light on my image up there. Can you guys see that? Okay. I did the foolish thing. I shouldn't do it, and I know I shouldn't do it, and I went ahead and I did it anyways. I upgraded the version of Streamlabs, the software that I typically use to do these streams with. I updated that about an hour ago. And it came up. I was like, cool, let me double click. It logged into everything, and then I looked at it and I went, oh, everything looks slightly different. Slightly different. So we're going to try to make the best of it. We're going to go, and I think as we get a little bit more color on here, I think it'll really pop to life. So focus is kind of fading in and out. I think the focus is fading in and out because it's so light. I'll tell you what. Let me pull this down. Ooh. And that will help a little bit, but it's going to be in closer. So if I move it, it's going to look a little bit more like it's jumping all over, but it will help with the focus a little bit. I've tried to make some amends for it jumping all over, but sometimes I can't really do it. There are sometimes, and typically it's when, I'm going to do this really slowly, it's when the colors on the page are pretty light that I have a bit of a problem. And I've never really figured out if that comes across because of the lighting in my studio, or if that's, well, it can't be the cameras. It could be the camera angle. I say it can't be the cameras because it's happened with multiple cameras before. So it's probably not the cameras. I'm not saying it's not the cameras, but it's probably not the cameras. See, we got some dark here. Now, I will admit that adding some of the dark onto the body of this guy is not necessarily how I would do this, but I thought I could do this and get away with it, and we'd be okay adding some of these darker colors this way. It may or may not work out, but we're going to find out together. He's got a cute little pink nose here. I can already tell this giant camera, it's now right kind of in my angle of view. Is the camera on autofocus? The camera is on autofocus. Actually, I never installed the tools not to have it autofocus. I had to install some tools if I want to focus it on my own. And I kind of went, I don't think I want to do that. I'm just going to let the camera do that. So, great question, but yes, Sudike, it is on autofocus. And that's why from time to time you'll see it kind of focus on its own thing, and I'll have to put my hand up here and pull it down, and then it'll find its way. Because of autofocus. All right, come on. Ooh, I think you're looking good. I think there's some parts of this guy looking pretty good already. Let's see, I know he's got some darker area here. Probably got a couple of darker areas on his haunch back here. I would suspect there's some musculature back there. And now I know what's going to happen, right? I already know what's going to happen is I'm going to put all this color on, and then I'm going to have to redo the whole thing anyways. And that's fine. I'm totally fine with that. Tracy's here. Hello, Tracy. Hello. Welcome. Glad to see you here. So, hello, Blue is here. Wow, welcome. It's been a while. Thanks for joining. Good to see you again. If you're a cow lover, this might be the stream for you. If not, well, hopefully it still is. I don't know I'm not sure how a saying would go in there. So just let me recap for everybody what I've done or what I'm doing here. Got this zoomed in maybe a little bit more than I normally would, but so this is almost like what's the word? A gilet? Is that what it's called? Oh, it's a French word where you put on Griselle. Oh, maybe I have it wrong. You put on all of the blue or gray notes, the shadowing, you do all the shadowing, and then you're going to add some color to it afterwards. That's kind of what's going on here. And you can kind of see, I got to get the side of this guy's face over here. You can kind of see what's going on with this. He's definitely got some, just with this one color, he's already developing some dimensionality. That's kind of what I'm striving for here. Right, I want him to look like, right, there's some substance to him without having to put in any color quite yet, which we are going to get to. Trust me, we are going to get to that. And then I have to be honest with you, what I'm really looking forward to are painting these giant big horns. I really am looking forward to painting these horns. I think they're going to be a hoot to paint. I can't wait. I can't wait. So I'm trying to think if I have any stories to tell everybody today. I'm not sure that I do. had an incredibly busy week at work, but that seems to be par for the course anymore. And I'm not complaining. Anybody who's listening from work, I'm not complaining. It's just stating a fact here. Seeming to be busy. But enjoyable. I have to say, just like I really enjoy being on here with all of you guys. I happen to work with a fantastic team at my job. We do oftentimes kind of a thankless job, right? We're a bunch of IT technicians. That's what I do in my everyday 9-to-5 job. And we do something that could be pretty thankless. And the guys I work with make it fun to be at work and fun to be around, and we take the work seriously, and probably not ourselves quite as seriously as we should, and that makes everything a bit better. All right, okay, you know what? Oh, Natalie's saying, is everybody staying cool and out of the storm? Natalie, thank you for bringing that up. I kind of forget because I live in my own little hidden corner of the world, and I think this week we finally got some heat. It stays pretty cool here. Susie says 99 today in Maryland. Woo! Whew. Stay indoors. Please, everybody. Holy cow. 99 is warm. Okay. Let's see. What do I want to do next? I think I'm going to do some... I think I'm going to mix up some brown on this guy. Yes, I'm perpetually... I love saying this, and I hate saying this, but I'm perpetually spoiled by the weather where I live, because we have a saying that where I live is where summer goes to winter, because our summers are often foggy and cold, and our winters are really nice and pleasant. So I forget that the rest of the country sometimes is sweltering through some heat. 99. Oh, let's see, Susie, it was 106 in Phoenix. Whoo! Wow. That's hot. 106. I remember, this was always funny, when I moved out to the West Coast from the Midwest, everybody would say, yeah, it's hot out here, but it's a dry heat. I used to go, yeah, dry heat. I get it. My oven cooks with dry heat, so I'm not buying that the dry heat is any different than any other heat. It's heat. Uh, 105, 106, what did you say? 106 is really hot. Sudika, you had tornado warnings. Holy cow. Let's see. A warning is where, and help me with this, a warning is where the tornado is possible. A watch is where one has been seen. Is that right? I'm trying to remember what the difference between the two is. It's been a long time, and what I'm seeing here is that my Grizel layer didn't work here. So all this work we just did, I didn't do near dark enough. So we're going to have to come back and do a little bit of extra work here. I'm going to work to speed this up a little bit so I can come back and hopefully get some of that while it's still wet. And yes, sometimes it's hard to paint and talk at the same time. And read, tornadoes touched down yesterday, or the day before, near where we came from, New York. Woo! Tornadoes are scary. I haven't been in one or near one for years and years and years. Actually, I have a kind of a, I mean, now it's a funny story. At the time, it was a pretty scary story. All the way back, if anybody can remember back this far, to that grand old year of 1985. I remember 1985 because that was the year of my brother's high school graduation. And in 1985, we had a tornado that rolled right through my town, the town I grew up in. And we were supposed to be having a graduation party for my brother while the tornado was happening. And I remember my grandparents were there. They had driven up from Texas. And so they're sitting in their trailer. They would pull a trailer, and it was, set up in the backyard. Just fine. I'm outside playing in the backyard, doing whatever it is I used to do. And I had my radio going, as I did a lot back then. And, the big beeps come on. Beep, beep, beep. Tornado watch or tornado, whatever, sighted. And I was like, holy cow. Holy cow. As I'm painting a cow. I don't know what we're going to do, right? So I tried to roll into the house and turn on the TV, of which I only got 3 stations anyways. I don't know what I was gonna get off of that. And as I'm doing that, the weather in my area turned really kind of nasty, like really nasty. Wind blowing, dark. We didn't actually see any rain, which I always think is really weird. It rained a half mile away. I could see it. My friend's house, 2 streets over. They got all kinds of rain, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Meanwhile, ooh, look at him. He's starting to look good already. Meanwhile, my father's trying to drive over to the house, and he comes rolling into the driveway as white as white as this. And I'm like, what's going on? What's wrong? He goes, there was just a tornado, and I had to get out of my car and get into a ditch. And I'm like, yeah, Dad, sure, yeah. And he went in the house to lay down and settle down, I'm sure, for a little bit. I'm just mixing in a little bit of sepia in here. As my gray didn't take, right, I'm going to mix in. It's still a little bit wet, and we can get a little bit of some cool gradation in here, but I'm just mixing in some sepia where there's maybe some more shadow area in here. That's if you're wondering what I'm doing, I'll just tell you, and then we don't have to wonder about anything. So he goes in and lays down, and I'm trying to find out what I can about this tornado that came through. I walked out to look at his pickup truck. He always used to drive a little tiny, like a Chevy Love. No, he didn't have a Chevy Love. He had a Mazda B2000 pickup truck. That's what he had. So I looked at it, and all along the hood were all these little tiny dents where the hail had hit it. And I kind of went, uh-oh, maybe he really was telling the truth about this. And then after he had a little time to settle down and relax, I'm sure, he was brave enough to take me for a ride around our little town to see what the other areas look like that had maybe been hit by the tornado a little bit more directly. And sure enough, just down the street, I could see to the area where my friend lived, and it had picked up a couple of houses and moved them across the street, and had torn the roof off of another couple of houses. It literally, I mean, it was the strangest thing. Looking back, it's extremely cool because tornadoes just are. But it had cut a path about a half-mile wide right through my town. Any house, any tree, any road, anything that was in that half-mile path, just gone right through the middle of it. Let's see. You all would have laughed. I headed for the interior bathroom wearing a bike helmet. Oh, that's funny. It's better than nothing, right? We had actual sirens going off. That's cool. Susie says tornadoes are the worst. Tornadoes are horrible. They're so scary. They're pretty bad. We did have several tornadoes as I was growing up, and I just remember I lived in this old farmhouse, and I remember looking out the window of my second-story bedroom at this farmhouse a number of times. It was this big old maple tree just outside my window that I'm assuming was planted there when the house was built or shortly thereafter. And I could see, now the maple tree was big enough around, you couldn't get your arms around it. It was a big old tree. And I remember just seeing the branches, the boughs, just shake back and forth and thinking, is this going to come through? Which one of these is coming through into my window? But yeah, but that's kind of what you do when you're smaller. But I say that just kind of as a thing, but I don't mean to make fun of it, because tornadoes are at the same time extremely cool and completely frightening. Completely frightening. Okay, cool. So we've got kind of a cow shape here. And surprise, surprise, you get some darker colors on there. We can see him better. I might have to do a little fix in here. Not only did my color run a little bit here, we'll see if we can take care of some of that. I might be able to lift some of that, but if not, we'll work that into the rest of this guy. Excuse me, somehow. But I think this dark down here probably needs to come up a little bit more. I do like the fact that there's a little darker and a little lighter. I don't want to get rid of all of that, but I think it needs to come up a little bit. Maybe over here too. This might still be wet enough we could do it right now, but I'm going to let that sit, and I'm not going to mess with it too much. But I'm looking at it up there. I think it's starting to look pretty good. It's starting to look good. Now, I said we're going to put some kind of green shrubbery things around this guy. I'm going to do that. And I don't want it to be too green and too bright, too whatever, right? Look at this. Natalie took this picture, and this is pretty deserty. If you haven't noticed, it's pretty deserty. So I want to make sure we have a deserty kind of green. So let me see if I can grab another piece of paper here. Oh, that's a card. What do we got here? Will this work? God, this is great. This is great broadcasting. Okay, here we go. So, what I'm talking about is, come on, there we go, right? Deserty green is a browner green. Maybe there's some olive in here too, but it never gets like a super bright green, right? Like this. These are colors, I guess you could see these in the desert, but it's going to be maybe springtime when you see it. The green in the desert here in Natalie, I'm going to group myself in with you, kind of in the desert west, is always this darker, browner green. So this is what I want to put in the back behind this guy. Maybe not even quite this dark, but something like this, to designate that there's something standing behind this big old guy here. Shoot, we can even mix a little bit of blue in there. We drop a little red in there. That'll even gray it down a little further. I think that's pretty good. And right, I'm gonna come down somewhere into here, and if this just kind of too much goes off on the side here, I'm good with it. I don't want it to be necessarily completely solid, but right, it's a bush. It's gonna look like a bush somehow. Whoop, you guys can't even see it. I might be able to raise this up a little bit now. I've been buoyed by my tree last week that I did kind of wet on dry with the side of my brush, and now I'm like, I could do that all the time. I can just do that. Now I've learned that skill. It'll work. Maybe. Boy, quiet crowd tonight. I'm telling you. Quiet crowd. You guys make me nervous when you're always quiet. All right, let's get some nice colors of greens in a few spots here. We can even make a few of these a little bit darker. But I want to get, I gotta raise this up a little bit. Oh, so we can see a little bit better. There we go. Now we can see the whole thing. You might be able to see a bit more of my madness now. And I probably need to have a little bit of that underneath here. That same color adjacent anyways. This can get a lot lighter down here. We're gonna have some additional fun with that. But now he's kind of standing already in front of a bush. We probably need to put a shadow down here. We need to maybe put some vegetation down there or something. But we got something there now. I just got a text that our daughter's coming to visit with our grandbabies. Yay! Okay, you have an excuse. You can go and dance a jig and have have some rejoicement over that. That's great news. That is great news. That sounds like fun. It's always fun to have family come by. Always fun. I don't even know your family, and I'm going to say it's fun. Oh, why do I do this? Now, I started painting over here. I'm going to paint this way. That's all right. We'll figure it out. Right, let's make these a little different color here. Let's add a little bit of orange into some of this, just to mix it up a little bit. Maybe a little different green in there. I think at the end of this, I'm not going to do what do I call it? A self-evaluation. I'm going to have Natalie evaluate me. This is with her picture. No, I'm not putting you on the spot. And I don't want you to tell me it's bad. Let's see, this tree comes out this way a little bit more. Oh, I think I just went right into his horn there. And I got to get some of that underneath. Trying to get down this way. There we go. We're gonna put some sticks and twigs in there too. That'll help with some of this. CDK said if you dance a jig, you'd probably throw out a hip. I don't know why. What is it about jigs? Why do we... I want to know why we say that. Every now and again, my wife will say something like, "Oh, I'm gonna buy you, something, I don't know, whatever." Right? And then she goes, "Doesn't that make you want to dance a jig?" No, we don't want to dance a jig. No, I'm terrible at jig dancing. Why do we want to dance a jig? That's my question. All right, let's see. We've got to get some branches back here. Give me some of that dark. Give me some Paynes Gray in here. Kind of a mix of a few of these. Some brown. This is gonna be, I don't know, what would you call this? This isn't I was thinking this is like a chaparral. Would this be a, Natalie, do you have any idea what this might be? Would this be a chaparral plant? Is that a possibility? What other kind of plant could this be? Jigs are always a vibrant, happy dance. All right. I will totally accept that. I can totally accept that as a good answer for why we dance jigs. There we go. Got some nice something going on. That's kind of in the mid-ground, just behind our bull here. Mostly mesquite, okay. And Palo Verde around here. All right. Mesquite, okay, I can see. Maybe some mesquite. All right, now, well, I'm going to wait and hold off on a few of our shadows here. And I'm going to do a little bit up here. All right, we've got a mass of plant here and cactus and prickly pear cactus, of course. Is there any place in the southwest that doesn't have prickly pear cactus? Holy cow, man, and they grow fast. They are proliferous. Proliferous. Is that a word? Yeah, I think that's a word. Proliferous. They proliferate quickly. Proliferous. I'm going to have him standing kind of behind something here. Put a little bit of red in there. There's kind of one bit of something that he's standing behind. This is not dry yet. That's kind of crazy to me. It's really kind of crazy to me. All right, standing behind there. These cactus are prickly pear. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna paint. I was gonna do some kind of alliteration. More than just painting prickly pear. How about if I paint prickly pear post haste? I guess that's better than painting prickly pear posthumously. That's definitely better than painting prickly pear posthumously. I don't want to do that. Painting prickly pear precariously. Precariously painting prickly pears. I don't want to get this like super yellow in here. But I do want, that might be a bit too much. I do want to get a few different colors in these prickly pears. Maybe make them not quite so prickly. I didn't really draw all of these out. I just figured I'd be able to do a bit of a few shapes, and we know it's in a deserty region. We're probably going to know exactly what these are. That was my thought. I might be wrong. I've been wrong lots of times. I'm trying to add just a little bit of color and a little bit of life to them without getting too crazy with what they are. Can you all see what I've got going on there? I've got to do some over this way. Kind of. Need more water, need more water. So I have to ask, well, I don't have to, but I'm going to. Has anybody started on this month's challenge? I have hunted for my reference photo. I haven't quite found the one I want to use quite yet. But I am definitely looking. All right, I think there's some prickly pear cactus there in the foreground. And I need to paint some grasses around this leg, and I want them to be just different than everything around them, right? I want it to be different than this color over here. I want it to be different than the cactus that they're going around. The painting really looks good, thank you. Dana. Susie, I'm still looking for a photo for the challenge. I am too. You're not alone. Don't feel like you're behind if that's the case, because I kind of feel bad because when I can't find what I think is I thought finding that reference photo, I had one in mind, and I was like, I'll be able to find this. That'll be no big deal. And now I can't find what I wanted to do. And so now I'm like, oh man, I feel bad that I asked everybody to do this, and now I'm having a little trouble with it. So I get it. If you're having trouble, don't worry about it. I'm sure something will come to you, and you'll get something fantastic. You'll all figure it out. So you're still looking as well. I think I'm gonna like redouble my efforts here on the weekend coming up. I don't have a whole lot going on this weekend for once in seemingly a great while. I mean, that's no different than anybody else. I get it. I'm trying not to make an excuse about it. But yeah, hoping I can find something pretty quickly, and then figure out a game plan on how to paint it. I got some. All right, I might have to adjust my cactus in here a little bit. I think we can do this pretty easily to make them stand out quite a bit more. And the answer is a little extra color. And I'm just going to use some of this olive green that I have. I love this M-gram olive green. I really do think it's a fantastic color, and it's a color that you can use for a lot of different things. It's a pretty, I don't want to say it's a benign color or a safe color or anything like that, but it will help you cover a lot of boo-boos, or it can help you cover a lot of boo-boos. Well, they kind of look like coconuts. You haven't found the right stairs yet, Natalie. At least you have 2 weeks, right? At least we have 2 weeks. All right, next time I'm going to find a picture before we start it. I thought it was going to be a great idea. I still kind of like the idea. I don't know if I told you all, I had the idea at one point in time to only do paintings of ugly things to make them, look beautiful. And so I have all these weird paintings of ashtrays and, dirty park benches and stuff like that. And everybody looks at them and they're like, oh, I don't know what's going on with this. And until I tell them, and then they're like, oh, I get it. Oh, okay, that's cool. And every now and again I get it into my head that I'm going to do art with kind of a purpose. And I think this maybe was one of those times. And I don't know, we can all have the discussion afterwards on whether it's going to work out or not. I think we got some sticks and twigs coming out of here too, right? A few. Something sticking out in through there. Cool. Oh, yeah, CDK. I'm doing a little spell checking there. The bull looks really god. Or good. Either one. Okay, a couple of things that we got going on here. So I'm gonna step away from this. We do need to make sure that we have some darker colors in the foreground here to really, and warmer colors to really pull this foreground forward. So we'll have to put something here, make this darker, do something to pull this even further forward than we have it. But in the meantime, we've got to do something about this guy in here, and I guess the thing we're gonna do is we're gonna double down on our gray here. Right? It's not really gray, it's neutral tints, but we're gonna double down on some of this and really help to accentuate the foreleg, right? Accentuate the back leg back here. A couple of things that are really going to hopefully give this guy that dimension that he needs, right? He's a big, proud bull here. He needs some dimension going on. I want to be able to give that to him in some way, shape, or form. So this is how I'm going to do it. And what do we have? In the front here, we probably... Oh, that dark, dark, dark. Don't stain. Please don't stain. Probably need a little bit of color here. Okay. Okay. Now that leg should be kicking out a little bit as we put in this darker color around it. Back in here. I can actually do this even a little darker. Back in here. And in here and here. Should help kick this leg forward a little bit. I think it did. I'm going to give this guy, I'm going to paint a little lighter brown right around his eyeball here. Don't hate me, Mr. Cow. Cool. I just want this to be lighter around there. I'm going to give him a little bit extra pink on his nose. I don't think it's quite as pink as I want it to be. And then, of course, now I've got a spot there. That's okay. That's all right. I think it'll work. And then I'm going to give him a dark nostril in there. Cool. Right? It's got a nice little pinky little nose. Natalie, you were surprised how scrawny his legs are. His back ones do, well, on my drawing anyways, his back ones do look pretty narrow. I guess, right? He probably doesn't have to run a whole lot, does he? I wouldn't think. He just kind of wanders around. They probably don't need to be too strong. He doesn't have, I can't imagine that they have too many natural enemies that would, cause them to have to run a whole lot. I don't think. Either way, right? He's a big guy. I mean, for sure, he's a big boy. There we go. This is just having fun with this is just having fun with some color at this point, right? This is when doing your painting becomes a bit more fun, when you can add these little layers of color in here. Yeah. So that comes up a little bit higher. This dark comes up a little bit higher. I feel a little bit better about that. I'm going to push even a little bit more up. Yep. And I know he's got some, I'm just getting this, I'm pre-wetting this, I guess is what I'm doing here. In that area, ooh, that's neutral. In the area where I want this color to be. I know he's got a little bit of color in the shoulder. He's got a big old muscle right in here. Maybe get the water level right on my brush would help. A big old muscle right in there. And the other thing he's got is this hip bone that comes up this way. Let's see if I can get that in here like that. Ooh, look at all of a sudden that hip bone just popped right out of there. Shaboing. That shaboing, that's an official artist term, I think. Earlier this week in Tucson, a mountain lion wandered into the courtyard of a hospital. What could go wrong? Natalie, we have not belittling that situation. We have mountain lions that through the heat of the summer, they can't quite get as much. They start here wandering into different areas also. Every now and again, we'll get them wandering up to the student dorms, which always kind of gets people all fired up for obvious reasons. Hey, there's a mountain lion in the dorm here. And we had one instance last year where a family of bears broke into one of the buildings on campus. That was fun. They're just black bears. They weren't going to hurt anything, but still, maybe you don't want to proliferate having bears on your campus around a whole lot of people. I've always kind of been of the opinion they were here first. We'll do everything we can to protect the people in the buildings and everything, but if they get into something, we'll figure it out and we'll make it right. All right, okay. How's he looking? He's looking pretty good, I think. He's got some, oh, come on, clean brush. This ran up on me a little bit here. I'm just going to blend this way down. Okay, cool. All right, okay. Oh, I think he is looking good. He's really starting to look nice. You can see he's been outside for a long time. Look, he's like almost skin and bones here. Needs to eat something. That's scary. It is scary. Why? All wild animals are scary. Not because they're doing anything wrong. It's because we don't understand what they're doing. And as soon as we don't understand what they're doing, then we get all freaked out about it. And then that freaks them out. And then it's like we're out. Both sides are in an arms race about something. But oh, it's okay. All right, I just cut down that. His back was super bright, and we're going to put some additional dots on there, spots on there. Okay, I want to work on this horn over here. While that's all wet and while that's drying, I'm going to work on this horn over here. So I'm going to get it wet because if you look at this horn, let's take a look real quick. I like this picture, so let's take a look real quick. So we're looking at the backside horn. I guess the way you look at him, it would be the horn on the left side of his head. It's much more ochre-y up towards his head and much grayer down towards the tip. So I'm going to try to replicate some of that, right, by putting some ochre colors up here. And we're going to let those run down for the most part. And then I'm going to put some gray color. I have a gray color. Somewhere I have a gray color. Come on, gray color. On this end. Maybe even a little neutral in there. I don't know. That's too cold. I want to warm that up a little bit. Okay. And let that just come down. And those will mix somewhere in the middle. And we should end up with really a pretty nice looking horn. As I look, this gray kind of comes down just past that turn of his horn, and then as it goes up here, what am I going to do? Let's see, give me just a little bit of this blue. There, okay. Some mix of all these colors in here are gonna work. A little stronger with my ochre. I always tell myself, right? I don't always tell myself as I have a dozen people or however many are watching me, but I always tell myself this is supposed to be the fun part of the painting. You're putting some color on, you're seeing what it's doing. If you need to adjust it on the fly a little bit, you can just adjust it on the fly a little bit. There we go. He's got a horn out there. That's hanging in there pretty nicely. He's freckled. He is freckled. That's what the word I was looking for. Not spotted, freckled. It reminds you of the people who try to take selfies with buffalo in Yellowstone National Park. And that always goes well, doesn't it? Always. That never are there any problems with that in Yellowstone. I think tourists always come out of that really well. I gotta put a few bigger spots, bigger freckles on here, and try to get a few small freckles. And while I'm doing that, try to make it look like it wasn't some guy sitting in a studio just putting dots on a cow. Which ones are big? Which ones are little? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, he's got some on the back leg back here. Oh, that's wet. Let's not do that. Is this wet here too? No, that seems to be dry. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to paint this whole bit right here. I'm going to paint this brown. And I don't have to do any freckles on that little bit. All done. Got it. Nailed it. I was getting nervous for the details near the end of paintings. Oh, Susie, you and me both, right? You could spend an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours doing a painting, and you do something that doesn't look right, and then you're like, oh no, what did I do? That's okay, right? I try to tell myself, you know, I get nervous about it too. I think it's very natural that everybody does. I keep telling myself, or try to tell myself anyways, that I should, you know, I should be able to repaint it. Whether I can or not, I have no idea. I tell myself, you know what, if it goes wrong, something doesn't happen right, I should, without question, be able to repaint this. Shouldn't be a big deal. Oh, actually, I like some of the spots that he's got on him. I think they're looking kind of nice. Okay, okay, that's not dry yet. So I'm going to come here and I'm going to paint in this corner, excuse me, another little bush down here. Anchor this corner down. Then we've got a few shadows we need to put across a few areas here. And it looks like this has run again into there. We'll fix that. Well, we're getting close. We're getting close. Natalie, what do you think so far? Are you doing your photo justice? I actually think it's not always so sure. I think this area got a little darker than I wanted, but we'll work with it. But I like the rest of it. I love the way he turned out, or is turning out, I guess I should say. I really like that. Too bright, too bright. See if we can get some red in here, and that'll help to pull this forward maybe a little bit. It's looking super nice. Thank you, Tracy. And Tracy, I know that you stream on YouTube also. Do you wanna tell everybody when you'll be online next? If you would like to, if you know, if you're like me, sometimes you just think you know and you don't always know. But if you know, and you wanna throw that out there, please feel free. Go ahead and do that. Let's see. Natalie says, looking good. You make it look like we had rain last summer. Well, you had our rain last summer, or what was left of our rain as it moved west. I know you had some of it. I want that rain back. I talked to my father who still lives in Ohio, and I'm like, what's going on back there? He goes, oh, it's rained for a week. And I'm like going, can you send that back to us? What about the other horn and his eye? I haven't forgotten about his other horn or his eye or his nose. I'm going to do his nose right now. We're going to get to it. I promise we're going to get to it. Let's see, his nostril. It's kind of a nostril. I guess it's a nostril. Does that look about right? I think it curls up here a little bit. All right, I'll settle for a nostril with that. I couldn't do his other horn quite yet because this bit was just a little damp, and I didn't want it to run out of there. So I think we can probably do that now. Most likely I'll be live on July 25th with a portrait sketch. There you go. Anything else you're not sure of? Fair enough. But anytime anybody's here and I know that you stream and I can help you get some people to your channel, I'm happy to do that. Okay, there's his eye. We might have to do a little remedial work on that eye, but we'll figure it out. It doesn't look that bad. Okay. Now, I've got some wet freckles, so I'm going to reach a little bit. But this is the horn that I really want to paint because it curls around, and I want to take the challenge of this horn curling in here. Okay, so we've got it wet, and we've got some. This is, if I had my Holbein colors right now, they have a wonderful yellow-gray color that I think would go perfectly in here. But I don't have it, so we're going to make our own yellow-gray. Thank you, you really appreciate it. No problem. No problem. Right? We smaller, I'm going to say smaller markets, smaller... What's the word I'm looking for? Smaller groups? Those of us who have smaller followings, right? I don't have... Tracy, I don't know how many you have. I have 12,000, which in YouTube, which to me, right, which to me sounds like a lot, but to YouTube is a pittance. And I don't think you have more than that, but regardless, right? The answer to it is, or the part of it is, if we can stick together and help each other out, I'm happy to do that, right? None of us are going to get rich doing any of this. We're doing it because we have fun, and it's always more fun to do it if we can do it with some people that are fun to do it with. Whew, if that makes sense. So if I can help get some people to you, whether it's anybody here or anybody who watches after the stream, then I just think that's awesome. You're not near mine. That's okay. That's okay. You know what? We'll drive some people to you, and you'll be there shortly. That's okay. Okay. So now I'm going to wait for this horn to dry, and then we're going to make it pop out this way a little bit. You know, fingers crossed here. But we can start to put in a few shadows here, as long as I don't go over the line of this guy. I'll probably put a few shadows in, and we can probably even add a little blue here and there. We'll give it a little bit more interest. Ooh, I can't do that. So the thing I can't do, I just did, is I can't, as I'm putting in shadow lines this way, hoping to add a little bit of depth, I cannot add lines up and down. Let's see, Tracy, be careful. You might end up with a motley crew like us. Right. Actually, Tracy, I hope you do end up with a motley crew like these guys, because they're fantastic. So, and you are, Tracy, you are one of them. You're part of the crew. So I'm counting you in there. All right. You can see what we're doing with some shadow lines in here, right. Some shadow in here. I don't want to get a blue shadow. I want to get a purple-ish shadow in here, because I want it to be a little closer to us. Right, if you haven't noticed, I don't always have a lot of patience for for shadows. Everybody who knows me knows shadows are not my thing. I just want to get them on and be done with it. But we're going to make some that look pretty nice here. Right, and let's get some color going up here. Bring this down and through. A little bit. Don't cover up all of that white space. We're going to leave some of that. Oh, I think that looks perfectly pastoral. If that's a word. Shoo, we can. Come on, give me a little bit of that. There we go. A little bit of that alizarin crimson in here. I don't want to be able to see too much of it, but a little bit of that alizarin crimson, that being warm, to pull the whole thing right on forward towards us. Sudike says, you really like the way I treated the plants. You mean badly? Treated them badly. I just kind of went, there they are. Yeah, right. So I like this. Well, okay. So I'm going to talk about them in a second. What am I? Hang on. I got to figure out what color I have on here. Okay. So I got some from here. So what I want to do is go on the bottom of this. Let that come around. Now this is horn color, right? Whatever horn color is. And that's going to come around. And then when it gets to this darker area of, I'm upside down and I'm trying to explain this. Okay, so cool. Let's do it this way. In order to make this little bit stand out. So I'm circling this little bit on his horn. Let me let you look at the reference photo. Check this out. So can you see that little bit on his horn where that kind of looks like it stands out? Right? It actually does. It circles around and it pops right back out. And it's curlicues in there. So what I want to do is put some color just behind it. I got to do some on the other side over there too, to make that little bit that curls down that way stand out. And I have to bring that back until I get to this dark bit right here. I can't let it go past that dark bit because then I'm going to have dark next to dark, and it may not, I mean, you can make it look right, but it may not look exactly right. And I don't want to take the chance of it looking all wonky. Oh man, my page just bubbled. There we go. So all of a sudden that little bit now twang points right out towards us. And the rest of that horn actually is pretty flat. Right? If you look at the reference photo, or if you had looked at the reference photo, since it's not there for you to look at, good job, Michael. It doesn't have a whole lot of depth to it. The one thing it does have is on the inside, there's a little bit of a highlight there. So I can't add a highlight, but I can kind of re-darken the outside just a little bit. And I have to be careful that I don't go too close to that dark. But you can see I've got a really light spot right here, and then it kind of gets dark mostly everywhere else. Come on, can I get a little, can I mop that up just a little bit? No, I can't. So I'm going to go just... ooh, I don't want that to get too dark. I really don't want that to get too dark, but I'm going to leave it about like that. I actually think that's not too bad. It's not too bad. I just want to. I'm going to fiddle with it. I know. I can't not. I can't not. That's wonderful English. I have to because I have to be me. I can't leave it be. Okay, cool. So that should add, actually that adds quite a bit of depth to it. It looks roundish there. You know, let's see, Sudike says, enough detail to make the plants recognizable, not enough to distract from the bull. Yes, yes, yes. That's the whole key. And now I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to do this. See if this works. I'm going to get this whole area wet here. And I'm going to take... oh, that actually kind of works. If I lighten that ever so slightly, that's going to push that back a little bit and make the plant stand out a little bit more. Just had to lighten. Like you can just see, original saturation, new saturation, much less. And then I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to do this. I don't know if I'm going to be able to stop playing. I've got these different shadows back there. I'm going to try to add even another layer because this bull's got a bit of a shadow here too, right? Should be coming in like that somehow. I don't know. Let's do something. Let's do something like that. It's just going to add a little bit more. If we can do a little bit here and a little bit more there, we can really add a lot to it. Okay, cool. So we do have some additional freckling yet to do here. And if I could get back to my original freckle color, I think we can figure it out, or something reasonably close anyways. Up under here, he's got a few. Let's fill that in. Let's make this a bigger one. Couple. I think the key is to put them in groups. Ooh. Okay, all right. Oh, I like him. So, there's a lot of detail in that painting. I really don't think there's as much as you think, right? And I'm happy to talk about it for a moment because I think this is one of the cool things about watercolor painting. There's not as much detail as you think there is. You look at it and you go, holy cow, holy bull, maybe, I don't know. Look at all of the work that's gone into this. And I'm not saying that there wasn't, a bit of work that has gone into this, obviously. But the whole back of the cow up here really is a graded wash. I did do this little bit on that bone because I really wanted that to stand out. When I looked at this picture originally, I could see this hip bone right here that really stood out. And we've got the gray, the neutral tint in here that makes this leg and this leg stand out way in front of those back legs back there. That alone is going to add a lot of, right? I'm going to use air quotes, detail and definition about it. And the fact that it's darker here and it comes up to the top makes it look like there's, form to his head. And then you saw me, I do this whole background back here. This took 2 minutes. It's just a little dry brush, a little dry brush, and some lines. So the whole, everything from here back in the background, not the cow itself, really took, what, 4 minutes? It's just, it's giving some real illusion of a lot of detail. And what I really like is the fact that I've got a lot of lines that go this way and a few lines that go this way. So your eye doesn't look at it and go, oh, everything's going this way, and you just see everything here. Like this plant, you look at it and it's got lines that go this way, and then it's got the lines that go this way, and so your eye jumps around a little bit. It jumps and it makes it look as though probably there's a little bit more motion there than there really is. I love having these cactus in here, because the cactus can go any which way you want, right? In general, they're in an L pattern here, but they're all in random areas. So your eye doesn't get caught going this way or going that way. Your eye jumps around. The only thing I wish on this whole thing is that I had maybe lowered the whole thing a little bit, because when I look at this, my eye goes right to this area right here, and I'd rather you go up to his flank. No, this is not his flank, his shoulder up here. Not exactly sure how you do it. We do have this line of his leg that sends you up that way, and we do have basically a line and a line which is going to send you that way. So your eye is, in my opinion, your eye is going to come up and go over, right? Not to mention that this is a whole line going that way too. So little details that I'm trying to work in. Now this was a lot easier because of the way Natalie's picture went, but little things that I hope to bring in. All these lines back here for the shadow of the individual branches that go side. And I said, I want them to go side, but I don't want them to go up and down. If they go up and down, they look like they're standing up like this. They have to go side this way, so it looks like they travel back in distance. I think this actually I think it turned out pretty cool. Anyways, okay, so before we go, I'm going to let this dry, and I'm going to sign this. I'll sign it right here so you can see it. There we go. I want to take a quick poll on everything. First poll is, let me know if you like this. I hope you do. And if you do me a favor, hit the like button down below. And if you want to see what Natalie did with hers, and I'm sure hers is fantastic also, go to Discord. She says she just put it there. And so I'm gonna put this on top. So let's decide what we want to paint next week. I've got a kingfisher here, one of my favorite birds to paint, a little belted kingfisher, like, a little red stripe here and blue there. I've got, and I hope that you guys can see that. That one I think is okay. I've got this one, which is the kind of the general store in Old Edna, which is a town not far from here. I got a chameleon on here, which I think is kind of neat. We can paint. Or I've got a gnome because I don't know why I decided to draw a gnome. But let me know what you think. Whoop. Let me get these out of here. And we'll do one of those next week. Tracy says, you have Discord, but you hardly use it because you're not sure how to use it. I get it. Discord's one of those programs that you don't ever get used to it unless you use it a lot. And unless you're a teenager or 20 years old, you probably don't use it a lot. I use it for basically 2 channels, my own and one that's a Daniel and Jorge Explain the Universe. Natalie, you only use it for my channel so far, and I actually want to use it for more than I do it for now. I'd like to get some discussions about color and stuff going in there. So anyway, the gnome, Tracy's going for the gnome. Natalie, thumbs up, thumbs down. What do you think on the bull painting? And anybody else who has a suggestion? Dana, you like the kingfisher? Same here, Natalie. Okay, Natalie, you're only using mine. Gnomes, so we got a 2 for 2 tie. So I was gonna say, anybody who wants to send me oh, you know what I didn't do? You know we didn't do? You guys didn't tell me. Let's see if we can do it after we're done here. I didn't even think about it. We got a whole ear back here that we could be. I'll paint an ear. You guys put in what you think. A gnome. Some architecture. I don't know that ear helps. It looks a little out of place. I'm going to give him a little point. I'm going to give him a little point on that ear. There, now he's got an ear. There you go. Now he's got an ear. Bicycle Repairman is here. All right, cool. Natalie gave me a thumbs up to it. Bicycle Repairman, it's up to you. What do you think next week? A gnome or belted kingfisher? What do you think? What would be best to paint next week? You just got back from your vacation in San Diego. Oh, I hope you had a wonderful time. I really do. I'm going to get a drink here. Thumbs up on the painting. Thank you, Sudike. All right. Bicycle Repairman says a gnome. You can say the kingfisher. All right. I'll flip a coin, or I'll put a poll up. I'll do that. I'll put a poll up on my YouTube community channel. I think you guys can all see that. I'll put it up tomorrow morning. We'll just do 50-50. Which one do you want to see, a gnome or a kingfisher? And we'll just let it run until Monday, Tuesday next week. We'll see what the voting comes out like. Until then, where's my thank you message? I don't know, it's very rudimentary, but sincerely, I want to say thank you all for helping to make my Wednesday evening so enjoyable. This was a tough couple of days at work for me, so I very much enjoyed this. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I hope you all have a great rest of your evening. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope that you'll be able to join me back here again next Wednesday at 7 o'clock Pacific when we paint either a gnome or a kingfisher. Until then, thank you all so much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.